You are listening to Ultra Q episode 69. Nice. Joined by Mel. I'm Red, joined by Mel. It's fuck.
Nice.
I cocked it up. Joined by Brad, also.
Yeah, I had an accident and couldn't make last episode.
Fuck.
I woke up with the sheets and with the stain in the shape of a microphone on it.
Nice. God.
Now that I got the nice, upgraded nice out of the way, can I get a new bit, proper one?
Yeah, go for it.
Friendship ended with Hokuto. Santa's my new best friend.
Nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. You know what this episode's title is.
Maybe.
Maybe. So, okay. So, we have got 3 more episodes of Ultraman Ace. Coming up, we have got a betrayal of me, personally. They betray me. We've also got a sick flaming sword. And we've got pandas. 3, honestly, like, now, I would not describe high energy. I'm feeling high energy about all 3 of these episodes.
Yeah. I had a decent time this week.
Yeah, they're all right.
About as good as we probably could have asked for in this post-retool era, probably.
Except for this first episode, obviously, but because of it's a personal betrayal. Now, before we get to any of that, we got our usual. What have we been up to this week? I'm going to start by saying, while everyone else was talking about the fact that someone tried to shoot Donald Trump, I was watching Poirot, which is like Agatha Christie's Poirot, David Suchet, who's like the Poirot, Poirot being a character, an invention of Agatha Christie, a famous mystery writer.
For those of you who don't know who Agatha Christie is. Yes,
for those of you who don't know who Agatha Christie is somehow. So basically, starting in 1989, there was a show called Agatha Christie's Poirot that cast David Suchet as Poirot, and it ran on and off. Well, it ran for like 5 seasons, and then they had to slow down and start doing feature-length episodes because they had run out of short stories and were now just doing novels. But as of 2013...
Oh, I love Demon Slayer.
Yeah. It's very different, but yes. This one's justified. This is justified. As of 2013, David Suchet has played Poirot in an adaptation of every Poirot story written by Agatha Christie. So, like, it's complete. It's done. And I watched loads of these when I was a kid, tiny child. Just, my mum would put it on and I'd watch a Poirot. And I've been hankering for like mystery stuff, detective stuff. I buy a Blu-ray of Poirot, and so I've been watching the first series of Poirot. That's a good time. Just like 50-minute episodes of a little mystery, not always a murder. Set in like 1930s Britain, and it's good. I like it. It's got the boys. The boys hang out. Poirot and Hastings are great guys. And the mysteries are, because it's like short, the mysteries are like quick and punchy and often like solved very, like, they're not the classics, the style that you think of where it's like, oh, we have like trying to solve this mystery for ages and then we gather everyone in a room at the end of the thing and run through it all. This is like much more naturalistic, I guess, in terms of how like Poirot actually solves the mystery. And and sometimes it's like solved. Like I watched a great episode like yesterday or the day before where the mystery is solved, like, and there's 20 minutes left of the episode, yeah, I don't have anything to say about Poirot. It's just good. It's better than it's probably better than watching like a feature-length Columbo. If I had to rank detectives, I would say Poirot probably better than watching like 90 minutes of a Columbo on average. Like Columbo's sometimes really good, and sometimes it's like yeah.
Now, if you're hungering for mysteries, I can think of a show that will give you inexhaustible.
Now, I'm not committing to that. That's your territory. You have that. I am not watching fucking Conan. No, I am not opening that case, because let me tell you, that case is never gonna be closed. Conan will never end.
Don't worry, it's by the end of this year, in universe.
In universe by the end of the year? Is that wait? Conan's going to be resolved within a year.
We had this discussion before. It takes place all within 1 year.
It takes all. Okay, nice. It's the I see Simpsons. Yeah, I have not done. Well, I have done much else, but I've been playing video games, long video games. So I have nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Who is going next?
I don't have too much. So, the reason I was gone last episode, as has been alluded to, is like the night before, my fucking microphone kicked the bucket. Just would not work. When I could get it to work, it just started to shriek static through the input and terrify anyone who was victim to having to hear it. So that obviously was a no-go for a podcast. So I had to spend money, buy another microphone. Wasn't too thrilled about that. Like, immediately after shit started to go wrong with my car, had to spend money, get that dealt with. That was expensive. Not a fan of that. And then, Wednesday through Friday of last week, one of my bosses was on vacation. The other one had a family emergency and was like, you're in charge. And I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, surely nothing bad will happen. And he even told me, like, yeah, chances are nothing really big is gonna, like, occur, but here's my emergency info if you need it, but, like, I trust you to make important decisions if you need to. And then, like, 3 things came up that were very stressful and ruined, like, all 3 of those days. So,
damn.
A little bit of a hell week. I didn't do a lot. I wanted to get to Swamp Thing. I was just not in the mood to read stuff. Only thing I really did, though, I do want to talk about this. Actually, I have 2 things. One that I forgot to talk about in the past, but I'll get to what I've been up to recently, which is been playing more Star Rail. I'm nearly caught up on the story, and I gotta say, they actually just made the story good finally. I'm in
nice.
delayed.
Did you get the Kamen Rider girl?
Yes, I did actually.
I did too.
I wasn't expecting it because I was pulling for the other character they had who is like the best support unit in the game, that everyone's like, oh, they probably actually made this one too powerful because there's a lot of other characters that have come out since, and everyone goes, why would you get them when you could just get the old one that's better? So I was like, well, fuck, I might as well get that on my account. And then I had some spare leftover stuff, and I was like, well, fuck it, let me just try to get the other one, too. And then I got the other one, and I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, but the issue with Star Rail story, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, it's amazing for a gacha game, and like, maybe for a gacha game, I don't know, I'm not super familiar with the genre, but
it's like, yeah, I have higher standards than that, I'm sorry.
Now, to be fair, and this could just be Nasu sickos, but I know people like hate FGO the game, but really like FGO the story.
I have friends that like a lot of Fate Go's story stuff. Though also too sometimes alternate between being like, oh, this arc sucks, and oh, this one's really good. But the thing with Star Rail, I think I've talked about before, it's very lore heavy. It loves to dump proper nouns on you. Sometimes I feel
a Hoyo thing.
It is. It really is. That was my experience with their other games from what I played too. I think sometimes a lot of the times, actually, I feel like that stuff would be better left as background material that you can read the lore documents if you really care about specific characters or concepts, and it feels kind of very messily thrown into the main story to make it sound deeper than what's actually going on a lot of the time, and it just kind of gets distracting. But my main thing with the Star Rail story so far is that you get your first arc, which takes place on like a space station, then you go to a planet, and it's a very, I would say generic but fine in terms of quality story about a very bad queen running this planet, and you help out her daughter and the people living there deal with the problem and the fact that she's being like terrible in her duty. Next plot line you get is you go to a world that is like a spaceport, very heavily like themed on China. There is a lot going on there, and what more broadly what it seems like the format each of these different worlds you go to is going to follow is that you go to a place. The first part of the story is figuring out what the problem is going on there, because, there's always some weird trouble. There's a reason that there's all these monsters around and bad stuff is going down, that sort of thing. As the story goes on, you start to meet other people from off-world who are from these different, like, universal factions that all have their own fingers in the pie of what's going on and have their own nefarious purposes for why they're there, or sometimes good-intentioned purposes. But often a lot of like intrigue and factional clashing as a result of that. And then it all pops off in one big climactic boss fight, usually centered on the villain from that world. And the Space China one was pretty bad, and I feel like a lot of that was because the story fell into what I would call and then storytelling, where every main story mission was dealing with something completely different, where it's like, oh, and this person showed up, and here's what they have to say, and go fight them and deal with them. And then it would just repeat that until you finally got to the boss. And it just felt like I did 5 stories back to back to back that barely had anything to do with each other, except for like the loosest connecting threads, and felt like a checklist almost more than it did an actual story. Pentacony, which is the current world, which is like a halfway mix between. It's like Los Angeles. Sorry, not Los Angeles. It's Las Vegas meets New York, with a hint of Disneyland on top of it. That all has like this organized crime sort of vibe going on for it. And I guess I should say the whole gimmick with this planet too is that the world itself is actually just a big hotel, and then when you check in, you go into this big hot tub that makes you fall asleep, and then you joined the shared dream, and that's how you get to the actual world.
I remember us talking about this. Yeah.
It sounds neat.
It's pretty cool.
I know the Disney stuff comes in because the protagonist gets a hat and they have like a clock mascot that is part of their moveset.
There is a fake Mickey Mouse called Clocky that only the main character can see, and other people with childlike innocence. And he's kind of terrified because there's about to be like a massive gang war breaking out, and he's a little freaked out about it. So there's a lot of really good cutscenes.
Oh, we're gonna have to watch out for Al Capone.
Basically, but there's like there's a really good bit early out of the story where like fake Mickey Mouse shows up and he's freaking the fuck out over like problems in the world, and everyone else in the story is like looking at the main character like, who are you talking to right now? What are you talking about? It's pretty good. But they do a better job of mixing in characters from off-world and in-world into the story. You kind of get like a little bit of a party going on where there's a bunch of different characters with vested interests in what's going on in the world just helping you out. And it's just a really well-told RPG story. I'm like, dang, like this, they actually just did it. Like they made one that's pretty solid. And I hope that the ones that they make after this follow suit. Because it seemed like it took a little bit for them to find their footing, but I was like, oh, like, actually, I just think this is a good RPG story, which is more than I can say for, I think, any other gacha I've played. So, that's been fun. Still having a fairly good time with that game. The other thing that I shockingly had a good time with that I forgot to talk about last time I was on the podcast, I watched fucking Code Geass Lelouch of the Resurrection.
Oh, what? You had a good time? The movie?
Yeah. Listen. I too also think the Code Geass ending didn't solve anything, actually. And the people who made that movie agree.
Just as a note, I know some stuff about Code Geass, but like I haven't seen it yet. So
Okay, I will keep it vague. But
it is something I'd like to do, obviously, but
yeah. You know, our boy Lelouch is back, and he's doing stuff. This has the absolute, like, don't give a fuck... So, you know how Doan's Island, that entire movie, feels like everyone involved knows it shouldn't be made, but they're there anyways, and they're having a good time with it?
I have not watched that movie.
Oh, you're not? Okay. So,
No.
I kept thinking of Doan's Island when I was watching Lelouch of the Resurrection, where everyone involved, from, like, writer to director to all of the voice talent, are just having a good time. And, like, I think everyone involved knows, like, we're just doing this to have, like, another thing out in this world. And they're just having fun with it. And it's not anything amazing, but, you know, Lelouch is there being a little tactical freak, and C2 is there to hang out and have a good time, too, and everyone, you know, has some good, fun character moments. Some characters are just hanging out in offices that I'm like, I feel like you should be in prison, but, you know what, whatever, fine, fuck it. That's just a Code Geass thing in general. But, it's just dumb fun. It's like a weird heist for the first half of it. And then it becomes an elongated Code Geass action sequence for the second half. Against another Geass user that has a really fun power. And, you know, it has that good mix of, like, what if Gundam meets Death Note energy to it. And I just overall thought it was a pretty good time, and I actually thought the ending was pretty sweet, as someone that thinks that secretly the best part about Code Geass is every time that Lelouch and C2 talk to each other. And I think the people writing this show realize the same thing, because they pay off their relationship in a very fun way, so...
Nice.
Yeah, this was all build up. I want to watch the new show, but I haven't gotten around to it quite yet.
I see. I wonder if the new show
that's on Disney Plus, apparently.
Yes.
I wonder if the new show will eventually canonize those clone children from the mobile game.
Oh my god, those things are so weird. I guess I should say, I started watching the compilation movies and I got bored and I just decided to watch, or I just looked up, like, a list of here's what changed.
I will never watch those movies as a moral stance that I'm taking, because I hate them, because Anime Music Quiz keeps claiming that the openings from that movie are the openings of the show that I watched.
Now, no, here's the thing. I think what you're thinking of is actually the rebroadcast version, because there is a rebroadcast of Code Geass, the TV show, that changed all the openings.
That's the
issue.
Fuck that. Play Colors by Flow, you stupid fucking website.
My favorite version of that is everyone picking Code Geass thinking they're going to get OP1 or OP2, but they actually get the third OP that plays for 2 episodes.
Lol.
Very funny. But I got like 30 minutes into the first movie, and I'm just like, I've watched Code Geass recently enough with an X that I was like, I don't want to sit through this again. I just looked up a bulleted list of the changes. Now, granted, one thing I will say, and I'll leave this vague for Mel, there is a character who dies in the show who they keep alive in the compilation movies, obviously so that she can be around in sequel stuff. She's not in that fucking movie for more than 2 minutes. And I was like, what was the point? What was actually the point?
No, Brad, I'm gonna tell you, that's perfect for her. That's exactly how it was destined to go.
Honestly, probably.
It wouldn't be Code Geass if she was getting more than that.
She finds out in the epilogue.
That's really funny.
And it's not even animated. It's a still image of an ending montage of still images while the credits play.
One day when I watch Geass, this is gonna sound hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Code Geass, stupid show, fun time. I don't really like it, but well, okay. I soft like Code Geass a little bit.
Soft like Code Geass.
I like Code Geass. I mostly dislike R2.
Well, is that what you did this week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly be mad and play gacha. Living my worst life right now.
I was gonna say that sounds bad.
It's pretty bad.
I'm
hoping next week is better.
You're in your post-Minimi era of your life.
I spent $500 I didn't want to spend, that I was just miserable for most of it.
Damn. Well, we'll leave you to your misery. We'll move on to Mel. Mel, what you been up to this week?
Hello. I got a couple things. One of them I'll be brief with, but one of them I'll get into more. First, between previous stuff that I brought on the show and also Brad bring on like a biography and a documentary, I realize I don't care, and I'll bring nonfiction stuff if I want. So I finished a nonfiction book yesterday.
What kind?
It's a historical book by a Marxist historian named Gerald Horne called
What's it about?
The Dawning of the Apocalypse, The Roots of Slavery, White Supremacy, Settler Colonialism, and Capitalism in the long 16th century.
That's a lot of stuff.
So Horne's a guy I've been meaning to read for a while because he's also a guy who shows up on podcasts and radio shows a lot to give current events takes that are pretty good, and he's pretty respected in my decolonial Marxist comrade circles, so I'm like, oh yeah, I should read his books. And I've already listened to his takes on current events, and he's pretty smart, so this is one of his more recent books. He's pretty prolific. He's apparently written I think a book a year for the past 20 years, kind of.
Jesus Christ.
let me send you his the Wikipedia page, so you can look at his bibliography. This book is technically a follow-up to an earlier book he did called The Apocalypse of Settler Colonialism, but that one is about the 17th century, and this one's like a prequel, if you can call a historical book that. And because he's a Marxist, he isn't doing the liberal, I found the skeleton key that answers all of history thing. So, obviously it's a book that's juggling a lot of plates, as you can tell by the title. But the crux of it is basically you have 1500s, you have Spain and the Ottomans at the top of their game. And then basically immediately after that, it's all about history happens where England becomes the dominant power. And he's like, well, what? Damn, what's up with that? And so there's some basically going through interwoven threads of how is the treatment of indigenous Americans and also Africans, an outgrowth of just Europeans doing this to religious minorities they don't like. Basically, I guess some threads are one, European Christians treating how they treat Jewish, Muslim, and then eventually Protestant or other Christians. That kind of gets cognitively remapped on how they treat Africans and indigenous peoples in the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
Up to including land expulsions, wars of extermination, slavery, those kind of stuff are they were doing this with other people, and then they just expanded their definition. Second, you kind of have Spain and Portugal's thing is that they kind of base their identity and therefore their colonization on Catholicism. I was well, we only want Catholic settlers, and if you're a Catholic, you don't need to be a slave. You get freed from slavery. And Wilcox talks about that's not as stable a system as the Dutch and English going, whoa, what about white people?
Mm-hmm.
And sort of like talk about like how, for the purposes of the development of the institution of settler colonialism and capitalism, race as an invention makes more sense than going off the traditional like church-based
Dicey.
Perceptions. Especially because like you have Spain also overextended as they try and expand beyond like, you know, they obviously have Mexico and Peru at this point in the Caribbean, but they're also trying to expand into like New Mexico and Florida, and they're running into the problem where they try and enslave the indigenous people, and then they rise up and those wars get brutal, and then like as the population of indigenous people fall, they're like, well, we need more free labor, so we're going to import African slaves, and then those slaves rise up and then join with the indigenous people, and then you just got these brutal wars happening for like the entire century. And so the kind of another thesis of the book is kind of just like Spain and Portugal's rise in the century is kind of like first movers advantage, but then England's right after is like second movers advantage, where like, oh, Spain did all the hard work of exhausting itself fighting the indigenous people and the slaves, and now England can just go in and go, oh, for me now, in North America. And so that's kind of like how you have like the establishment of 13 colonies, and then the US being able to steamroll the continent after that kind of thing. I guess mixed up in other things like the geopolitics of like, you know, France and Spain sort of like backing Ireland and Scotland less successfully against England, and then England backing the Dutch and the Portuguese against Spain, and then also Morocco against Spain, and then also then the English back the Morocco in sacking the Songhai Empire, which creates the conditions that allow West Africa to be stabilized and the slave trade to get set up and things like that. So there's a lot of things going on in the book, and it's pretty interesting and a worthwhile read, I think. I don't know if you lost me again.
Which of the two Apocalypse books is this again? Because I seen the bibliography. There's two.
Yeah, so this is Dawning the Apocalypse, which is written second.
Okay.
But takes place. It covers the century before the other one, and the other one is Apocalypse Colonialism, and about the 1700s, 1600s of the 1500s.
Okay.
And he has some other books I want to read by him as well, like this one called The Counter-Revolution of 1776, and then he has another book about Texas specifically, where he's like, this is why Texas is specifically evil. Called like The Counter-Revolution of 1776 is about like, well, here's why the U.S. revolution is not actually that revolutionary, because, you know, it's not that revolutionary when your revolution's based on genocide and slavery.
Yeah.
And then the second one is The Counter-Revolution of 1836, which is like, yeah, this is why Texas specifically is evil and fascist.
I just love the expansiveness of the the book we just discussed, the book you just discussed, and then moving on to. By the way, here's a book about why Texas fucking sucks.
Yeah, the full book title is The Counter-Revolution of 1836, Texas Slavery and Jim Crow and the Roots of U.S. Fascism.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, he's African-American and lives in Texas, so, you know, he is...
Oh,
he's got opinions.
The Counter-Revolution of 1776 is currently 80% off on Audible. I might actually just buy this. Listen to that.
Yeah. That might be the one I read next, actually.
I've done it.
You've done
okay, cool. No, we can do a book club.
I really badly need stuff to listen to at work right now. I'm in a dearth of podcasts, so.
I'm still working through Water Margin. It's gonna take forever.
I have another science fiction book that's really long that I need to pick away at, but you know, some books are just faster. But yeah, I'm happy
cool.
I'm looking forward to reading more books by him. I'll probably end up bringing up more books by him on the podcast as I go through them. But yeah, I recommend this one. And check out his other stuff if you can.
Mentioned you had something else.
Yeah.
What's that?
Give me a nice clap because I finally checked off the first thing off my backlog bingo.
Well done. What was it?
I've defeated an RPG.
What RPG?
The 1998 Sega Saturn classic video game Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Well done.
Which is a game that I technically started my save file of 2 years ago, and then I finally finished it by doing the entire second half in like a week.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
This is smarter than what I do. If I was in your exact situation, I would delete that save file. Don't even want to look at it.
The thing is, I do that for a lot of things, and then I realize I'm never going to get anywhere that way.
I think the thing that may have finally broken me on that is when you revealed to me how close I was to beating Xenogears.
Yeah, you had 2 hours left. I'm pretty sure it was the thing. Disc 2 of Xenogears is like really short. Like, it's actually crazy how short that game is once you get to Disc 2. I think it'll be like 2 sessions. But yeah,
Panzer Dragoon.
Yeah, so Panzer Dragoon is a cool video game franchise that mostly exists on the Sega Saturn. You had 2 rail shooters, the first game, and the very succinctly titled Panzer Dragoon 2's Y.
I see. 2-2, yeah.
And for whatever reason, well, actually, not unreasonable reasons, because, context, Sega in a tough pickle in this era. They were like, well, we made a lot of lore for this rail shooter that's kind of barely in the game because it's a rail shooter. So what if we just made an RPG spin-off sequel? So they did. And you know what? It's pretty cool. Let me go to YouTube and find some things to show you, because like they think they do interesting things to make an RPG based off of the mechanics of a rail shooter.
Okay.
For starters, I'm just gonna put a video of a battle I just randomly found on YouTube, just to make sure.
Okay.
It's like you're flying, and there's like the enemies are in the center, and you're like the dragon is on the outer edges of the circle, and there's 4 different cardinal positions you could take on the circle, and so you can rotate around it. And based on the position, you can target different parts of the enemy. Spots positions can be either green where they're safe, transparent where they're unsafe, and then or red where it's like bro, get the fuck out of there. There's also like weak points which you can target. You have, much like the base Panzer Dragoon games, there's like your gun, which is like a single shot, or the dragon's laser, which is like a multi-shot homing thing. And your gun is good for targeting weak points, and laser's good as an AoE. It's kind of like an ATB system where you fill up 3 gauges and they can do an action. Your basic attacks each cost 1. Your spells cost like 2. And then you have at some point in the game you unlock the ability to get new forms for your dragon that you can switch to on the fly. Which I'll demonstrate because it's cool 3D tech. And different. There's 4 stats, and therefore you have 5 dragon forms. The neutral one, then they have the attack, defense, spirit, and agility one, and each one gets a different perk. Where like if all 3 gauges are full, they have a passive ability. Like the neutral dragon, you slowly heal, and then they also have a 3 gauge spell which doesn't cost the mana, but like if all the gauges are full, you get a cool one-time spell kind of thing. Well, not one-time spell, but just also ability. And you only have one party member, which is you, the pilot of the dragon, and the dragon you fly. And it's pretty nifty. And the plot of the story is kind of just like you play as a guy named Edge.
Sick.
Who's like, he's like
a guy called Edge. Hell yeah.
He's like a mercenary guy. who at the beginning of the game, his mercenary crew are guarding an excavation site and get killed by a guy called Crayman, whose forces betray the Empire and make off with like a weird girl in a rock named Azelle who wakes up and it's kind of like a robot girl who can pilot a dragon, but all your friends are dead except for you, because you meet a dragon and now you're a dragon pilot too. And the game kind of starts off as shaking his fist, going, "Oh, I'm going to kill you, Crayman," and then things happen as he meets new people, uncovers more about the world, the secrets of the world. Crosses path with Azelle, and their fates become intertwined. You go into ruins and stuff, and it's pretty cool. I had a really good time with it. I think it's a really good, very special game. Pretty short. It took me 17 hours to beat. It's 4 discs, but a lot of that is cutscenes. It's each disc is pretty short to complete. Pretty breezy, honestly, on the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it feels like there's areas where if they had more time to work on the game, because they definitely did not have time to work on the game, they could have added more. That would have been nice. But also, it's it doesn't feel like the game is lacking anywhere, and it's also very polished overall. The battle system's very unique. The story's pretty nice, even though by the end of it does kind of become the one JRPG plot viewpoints. But that's just the genre.
That's how it goes.
It's just how it goes. You know how it's going to be. There's cool set pieces. The game does a good job of putting the battles, especially the less so for random encounters, but for the boss battles, it does a good, or scripted battles, it does a good job of placing the arena you're in and within the context of the world you're currently in.
Mm-hmm.
For set piece battles, so that's cool. A lot of, I feel sometimes it feels to some degree they also give you too many tools to a degree. The game's not that difficult. You got a lot of spells, but not all of them you feel necessarily need to use, especially by the end of the game where you get a pretty good gun by the end that kind of is just faster and uses less resources to blast away enemies with. So sometimes it just feels there's some enemies are pretty basic, but some bosses take some clever strategy and use of status buffs, but otherwise, a lot of you don't need to necessarily use a lot of your spells, and you get a lot of them, and it's sort of well, I don't know what the point of this is, but it's definitely a really cool game that I definitely recommend if you can, especially if you play Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2, which are really good games. And unfortunately it's $1 billion to actually play the actual game, but Saturn emulation is decent enough you can actually go play it pretty recently. I think that's how I played it. Anyway, I think Panzer Dragoon is pretty cool. And this game is kind of a weird white whale, holy grail game for a lot of people because of it's Saturn emulation wasn't good for a while. There's highly beloved, but who has Saturn and who's going to pay $1,000 for a physical copy of this game?
And despite them re-releasing a lot of Panzer Dragoon games, this is one that they have refused to put out again, it seems like. They
may have lost the source code, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I will say I don't like the remake of the first game.
Is Orda the remake?
No, Orda's a sequel game.
Okay,
I think
Xbox. I have touched a Panzer Dragoon, and I never remember which one because it was so long ago. I think Orda was the one I played.
Yeah, so there's 4 games. There's 1, there's Y, there's Saga, and there's Orda. And Orda's on the original Xbox because the original Xbox kind of like the Dreamcast too. And yeah, that's the game I have to play next once I figure out how to set up Xbox emulation. I heard that game's pretty good. But yeah, there's also the remake of the first game that was put out on the Switch and PC by Forever Entertainment that it doesn't look good. It looks okay. It looks cheap.
Okay. Was that one also just called Panzer Dragoon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just look.
You're looking for a before and after comparison.
Yeah, actually, it was actually YouTube is very helpful here. Here's some footage of the first game. You can just like look at the first stage because that's like the water level that's like iconic, and here's the remake. Yeah. I think skip to like 8 minutes in for the first video just to get to like there's some cutscenes and stuff, so just
Mm-hmm.
like obviously one of these games is a Saturn game, one of these is a normal game, but one of these is also like technical showcase for the Saturn at the time it came out.
Yeah, this newer one looks just
and the other one is like this
generic.
Is it's like the thing where you run to with like I think I accidentally put timestamps in the second one, but yeah, it's the problem. Like I think you get with a lot of things where it's like I've seen this discussed about like the original Star Ocean, for instance, was like one of the most technically impressive and taxing games for the Super Famicom, and then modern Star Ocean games, including the remakes of like that first game, are like budget titles, and it's kind of like that with Panzer as well.
Yeah, so it goes.
I also heard the gameplay for this one's kind of like as well. Like it doesn't feel entirely right. That's probably like a lesser issue than like the game just doesn't look as good.
Damn.
But yeah, it'd be cool if they re-release Saga somehow. And a way to play like the first two games in their original form. They're supposed to be making that like a remake of the second one, which will probably not also look not good, but like at least it'll be a way to play that game. But I don't know. Anyway, that game, Panzer Saga, is a cool game with cool vibes. Looks cool. The music's pretty good. You can look that up yourself. And yeah, it was kind of like it's kind of very unique as a game, and it's just kind of cool to experience it. And I'm glad I finally got it off the list.
Got it off the list. What's the next one on the list you have plans for?
I guess we'll see. I guess the one thing I'll say is that like it's because it's the shooting game with the cursor. They make interacting with objects in the worlds when you're on foot as Edge similar, where you press like the A or C button and then the cursor comes up where you interact with things adventure game style. Which means you get like near and far descriptions of things, which is pretty cool. But does make it a pain when I'm trying to talk to someone and I have to like walk up next to them and then press the button to get the cursor to appear, and then press the button on them when the cursor appears. Mm-hmm. Unlike normal RPG.
Yeah.
So if I was remaking the game, I'd keep the cursor, but I'd put a separate button for like talking to them like a normal person.
I see.
But yeah, there's also like there's like two types of exploration, because there's on foot exploration, but also dragon map exploration. That's pretty cool. And yeah, the game's just neat and cool and worth your time. Some parts where it feels like, yeah, this feels a little bit repetitive and not necessarily. You could have trimmed the fat a bit, but it's not like the end of the world. The game's still short on the whole, so
cool. All right. Well, is that everything?
Yeah.
Sick. So, we have to talk about Ultraman. We have to talk about Ultraman Ace. We have to talk about episode 38 of Ultraman. What is episode 38 of Ultraman Ace called? It is called Resurrection, Father of Ultra. He's back.
He's back.
Yeah,
he is the Christmas miracle.
Somehow, the Father of Ultra returned. Featuring Snow Choju, Snow Giran. So I have a summary here I'm going to read. It's Christmas. Hokuto is hanging out with Dan and his sister and handing out Ultraman Ace figures to random children. A Santa goes by holding a Christmas 72 sign. So Hokuto confirmed joined TAC in 1969. That's confirmed information now. This
means
canon.
Ultraman 2 was already an Ultra Brother before Go joined Matt.
Yep. So they're buying presents to give to orphans at an orphanage run by a woman called Yukari. When Hokuto and Ko arrive, it's just started to snow, but there's already a big snowman outside the orphanage. It's a styrofoam one, left by a kind stranger. Hokuto gets introduced to the other kids as a TAC member, and for some fucking reason, Dan gets introduced as the 6th Ultra Brother. I'm back to hating Dan. Get this twerp off my screen. The kids stage a play about a fake Santa fighting Ultraman Ace, and everyone is having a great time. And then later, the orphans sing the Ultraman Ace theme, the song about Hokuto and Minami.
And how they're Ultraman.
Yeah.
At some point, the styrofoam snowman splits open, and the Choju inside flashes its eyes at Yukari and blinds her. She's straight up bleeding from the eyes. And
Me
then,
watching Ultraman arc when they're in the office? No. I'm kidding.
yeah. And then the real actual Santa Claus arrives, and Hokuto and Dan suspect him of being the alien that blinded Yukari, but Yukari decides, he's not suspicious at all. The Choju Snogiran turns big and starts blinding people all over Tokyo. Snogiran has a master, an alien that keeps yelling about how Christmas is a Western holiday and Japan had thousands of gods before Catholicism arrived. Ace heads out to fight and loses. Crush that westernized trash, yells the alien. The crew has been on the scene, and 2 things have happened. Ryu got injured in the fight, and Kono called the real Santa Claus Sandwich Man. This was very important, and I had to include it in the summary. Santa heads out to fight, and it... Yeah, go for it.
Hokuto Ultra touches himself on Christmas.
Yes. Santa heads out to fight, and is revealed to be the father of Ultra. Captain Ryu can see that Santa is the father of Ultra and says so, and the doctors treating him say... so can Dan. But importantly, the important bit of this is Captain Ryu can see that Santa is the father of Ultra and says so, and the doctors treating him say, no, that's a giant Santa Claus. Did you hit your head? Which is amazing. The father of Ultra rejuvenates Ace and kills Snogiran's master, who's been yelling at Snogiran to destroy these Western creatures. Confirmed Ultraman is Western. Ace fights the Choju and wins, and everyone returns to the orphanage. Father of Ultra summons a sleigh which contains Minami. She performs a Christmas medical miracle and cures Tokyo's blindness with a beam. She doesn't say a word, and then the narrator says, "It's Minami. Remember she returned to the moon?" And I'm like, you forgot her fake backstory. You forgot she went to Pluto. Yeah, the captain talks about how Father of Ultra will always protect us, and he doesn't mention Minami at all. And Minami rides off to the stars with the Father of Ultra, and she's presumably texting Hokuto like that. Texts, just because I lost the queen doesn't mean I give up on the king. The end.
This is a weird one.
Hold on.
Whew,
Yeah,
there's a lot to unpack with this one.
I have something I have to say first.
Go for it.
I believe in medical miracle. Ultraman, thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Compulsory.
Okay. Out of the way.
Yeah.
Now, Brad, continue.
Yeah. I right off the bat, I actually think, weirdly enough, I think I like the Father of Ultra in this episode more than I did in the 2-part where he was introduced.
I mean, I think...
Oh, absolutely.
In that one, this one he's helpful, and that one he jobs. So
and like he has a personality. Like there's a bit where I think like is it? I can't remember if it's Dan or if it's one of the other kids asks him like, "So are you good or evil?" And then he just kind of gives the kid a look like, "Well, that's up for you to decide." And like something about that moment, I was just like, "Dad!" Like he feels like a cool dad who's just like, I'm here to help."
And he's also Santa, for real.
Yeah.
He's the real Santa Claus. He doesn't arrive on a sleigh. He arrives by flying. So yes, Father of Ultra gets more to do. Like, he's more involved in this than that time that he rocked up to give Ace a new color timer. So a little more endearing when Santa is your dad. They have the thing where it's like it's almost like a test because like Hokuto doesn't recognize him. He only sees him as Santa Claus, and he's like, this is suspicious. Santa is here. The real Santa Claus is here. That's something strange here. The actual like Choju stuff this episode, I like this Choju. just in terms of like its deal. Like it's like suddenly like appearing around town, blinding people while its master yells at it, "Crush that westernized trash," which it's so it's so brazen, it's hilarious. Villain that's like, Japan, why do we celebrate Christmas in Japan? Get out of here. And starts destroying shit. Getting killed by Santa Claus is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay, this might be one of the dumbest things I've ever said ever, but that snowman gives off specifically big Super Mario 64 snowman energy.
What?
I think it's because of how they like depict the face.
You know what?
It's just a snowman. It, like, rationally, I know this is a stupid thing to say. It's just a snowman, but
This is the face I'm making when you make this suggestion. No, that's the wrong image. Hang on. This joke is taking too long. The joke's taking too long. This is the face I'm making as you make that suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the snowman. It like splitting open and suddenly Yukari is like bleeding from her eyes as the flash goes is like it's pretty good. The orphan Hokuto's like and gang being like, oh, we help orphans is once again just leaning into show for tiny children stuff. That is what it is.
He was delivering bread to orphans before, so you know.
He did start this show delivering bread to orphans.
In 1969.
In 1969. 2 years before Hideki Go became Ultraman.
Mm-hmm. See, maybe there's a gap of like 3 years between episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah. That's got to be where it is. That has to be where it is. There's no other place that gap can be.
It's like with Blazer, where like they gave me Ace, but it didn't like matter until like later.
Exactly. And Tak have been quietly fighting the Yapul War for years while the Monster Attack team was fighting Kaiju. So Minami comes back, waves a bit, doesn't say anything. They get her fake backstory wrong, and then she leaves. And I'm sat there like, this is not the Christmas miracle I asked for.
Yeah, I was at first I was like, oh, she's back, and then I was like, I actually think it just made me more mad that she showed up again a little bit with how they.
I choose to read this in my own way.
How?
She doesn't need Ultraman in her life anymore, or at least Ace. She can just heal people on her own.
Yeah.
Living her best life. Doesn't need, she's best friends with Father Ultra now.
She's chilling with Father of Ultra.
Yeah, on Pluto.
Father of Ultra stole Hokuto's girl.
Yeah, I just
possibly making, like, do you think they have elves? Like, are they making toys?
Does Minami and Father of Ultra have elves? What would they look like?
These are the machine elves you see when you're on DMT, actually.
Oh, okay, I see.
If I was
like self-dribbling basketball and Fabergé, I don't remember how that goes.
I remember way too much of how that goes because of Waypoint.
Yep.
Now if I was writing this, I would go for real playing with gender, and maybe I'd have Minami turn into Father of Ultra.
Minami is his dad. Hell yeah.
Or two, Minami and then Santa transform to Father Ultra with the Ultra Touch, and Hokuto has to watch.
Yes! Yes!
Cucked by Santa.
Cucked by Santa!
Ho, ho, ho.
I think that should be the episode title, actually.
Cucked by Santa. The episode's going to be called Cucked by Santa. And people will simply have to sit and and wait for the punchline and be like, why the fuck is this episode called Cucked by Santa?
Episode 69.
Episode 69, Cucked by Santa. Yukari announces Dan to the orphans, like, oh, this is Dan. Like, he saw, and, you know, he stands there kind of expectantly and looks disappointed that no one knows who he is. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I've got no time for it. I've got no time for the Ultra Brother, the 6th Ultra Brother.
Neither is a show. There's only like 4 weeks left of Ace.
Yeah, true. He doesn't really do much.
Okay, also, I genuinely can't remember. Has Kyoko been in the show, like, before to any, like, reasonable degree that I would have remembered her?
Is that her name? His sister?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, his sister's been around. I've mostly called her Dan's sister.
Like, it's just suddenly she's, like, in these batches of episodes as, like, a person. Like, more than she has been.
Yeah, she's been around. It's just,
never a focus, like, I feel like she is these couple, but...
Yeah, I felt kind of dismissive about it because I'm sat here like, well, you know, it's Rumiko again. It's well done, but it's not Rumiko. It's like... It's
wait,
Rumiko.
no, yeah, she and Hokuto have the conversation in his apartment, right? Is that that someone else?
Yes,
I can't remember.
that is her.
Okay, yes, that's right.
It's her he's talking to when he does his Hokuto's Great Leap Forward.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, uniform's so good, and he's feeling emasculated by the fact that he's on suspension or something. So yeah, there's what else is going on in this episode? Anything? You know what? Who made it?
Oh,
I'll go for it.
Yeah, you know what? I'll get to stuff when Brad gets to his stuff.
Oh, well, I'll directed by Eizo Yamagiwa and then written by Toshiro Ishido.
Thank you, Cult Man.
I got special effects director as Koichi Takano. No one designed this, apparently, according to Wiki.
Yeah, it just emerged.
They found
fully
it.
Formed. They found it.
They found it like the Eraserhead baby
apparently
was
it's
found.
based on ringworms, though. Whoever designed it.
Ooh. They dug it up out of the ground.
The alien is called Namahage, which is a thing that exists in Japanese culture. Namahage being the demon guys that Japanese men will dress up as on New Year's to go scare kids and try and make them, scare them out of their bad habits.
We saw that in...
Yeah, that came up at some point. I don't remember what in.
The two-parter with the incel, with the bird. With the dynamite. Right?
Oh.
Was that?
Because he has the flashback of him being scared.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because that was the first time I ever, learned about that, and I was like, oh, that's, a fun little cultural thing I never knew about.
Yeah, and I know is noted on, Easter's Kaiju blog, where I read more about this, that, Christmas is pretty new to Japan at this point, when the show's airing.
I guess it is, yeah.
I suppose, yeah.
It is kind of maybe it's some bit of having fun with culture commentary, except with a pretty. I think the showrunner's bias is pretty clear.
What pro Christmas?
Yes.
Santa kills the demon, yelling about destroying this westernized trash.
I've always I once had a friend describe to me a cultural difference between Japan and the West is that over here New Year's is seen as more of a romantic holiday and Christmas is the family holiday, and in Japan that maybe is swapped a little bit. just this felt very like traditional Western Christmassy to me, honestly. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What else is there much else to talk about in this
I thought this
episode?
was all right. I did kind of roll my eyes when the Minami return happened, so that she can wave and be like, I'm not really in the show. Or does she even speak?
No.
Yeah.
No,
lines.
I guess I feel like I enjoyed it a bit, but also, it's pretty lame that she didn't speak.
It was just a cruel reminder.
No lines. The narrator declares that, remember when she returned to the moon? And I'm like, no, she didn't. She went to Pluto. You don't know your own lore.
Practically speaking, I'm happy they got her back in and she got, like, presumably paid to do this.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I think my friend told me that Ishido was not pleased with the retool, so I can see this him being like, well, I'll get her in for this at least.
That makes sense.
Well, I respect the effort, but
this does open up the possibility that she could be brought back, like, actually in some limited capacity by Ishikawa when he comes back, so.
I'm assuming...
the finale might be her and Hokuto again.
I'm assuming the ending she'll pop back up.
Yeah,
you have mentioned that before, and I have been sat here like, I wouldn't hope for that. But I guess it is a possibility then.
I don't know if she'll actually transform with Hokuto again, but there might be mandates from the producers to not do that. But
see, I'm just expecting her to show up and use
we'll see how it goes.
Alien beams of magic because that's her thing now. Be like, I'm
giant
helping.
Woman. Giant woman must return. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound so excited at the concept, but
I want to count
tradition.
I want to vibe check.
Yes,
I did count the Father of Ultra timer for when he first shows up as Santa, starting there because it's basically the same thing at that point. But does Santa being big at the start count for the giant woman counter?
No. I think Santa is decidedly does not count as giant woman.
Okay, just because he's Father of Ultra.
He's like a deliberately paternal figure. Yeah, I think it doesn't count.
It doesn't count the way Jun and Ippei do.
Yeah, Jun and Ippei is Yeah, I don't know what I mean by Jun and Ippei is but we're just counting it.
Now
okay,
the implications out there, and you, the audience, need to figure out what we mean.
We split hairs where it doesn't actually matter.
It doesn't actually matter, but also, I do a vibe check. I don't think Santa counts.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I don't think.
But
Santa
if we get giant Minami, that fucking counts. Ishikawa, you know what to do. End your show. Giant woman.
like giant Heinel.
Like giant giant Heinel. This fight so fucking good. Alright, we are going to move on to episode 39, which is called Seven's Life. Ace's Life. Seven's just in this show all the fucking time.
Yeah.
It's either Seven or Zoffy are the two guys that show up.
They know which guy has the sauce.
They do. They do. It's Zoffy.
I will say, I have a broader point to make about other heroes showing up in this show that I wanted to get to when we're done recapping the episode, but to start, every time that another one of these shows up, I do think it would be infinitely better if it was just Zoffy every time.
Yes.
Including if Minami showing up at the end of last episode was just Zoffy. That would have been perfect.
What if she turns into Zoffy?
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention.
Shit, that changes everything.
During the kids singing in the choir, they all had, the girls had Minami scarves and the boys had Hokuto scarves.
Oh, no.
That's a detail I noticed that,
Oh,
isn't
dear.
that episode.
You can't give her scarf to the girl. She's not in the show anymore. She's in this episode, but she's not in the episode. She's not in the show.
Does seem like a road to hell paved with good intentions move.
Yeah, definitely. Trying your best, but I think no, this is a mistake. So, I do agree that I used to be team who the fuck is Zoffy, but now, ever since I have been granted the screenshot, here's Zoffy. Every time Zoffy shows up, I'm like, oh, here's Zoffy. Yay.
And I never want to know his story, but I do want him to show up.
Yes. Okay. Dan is trying to do handstands to win a bet, and Hokuto turns up apologizing for missing Christmas and gives Dan a present. Dan announces he's going to meet his long-lost uncle Saburo today. Saburo appears and together with Hokuto saves a boy from falling from a great height. Saburo gives Christmas presents to Dan and his sister, including a necklace which he says was supposed to be for their mother. Dan's sister accepts the present. But fuck this domestic shit. TAC have another super weapon in the works. This one's called Silver Shark, and the captain is away overseeing the final touches. The remaining crew get ambushed while out on patrol one night and have a big shootout. Hokuto shoots the shooter in the leg and finds Saburo's bracelet at the scene. Hokuto confronts Saburo in a train yard, and Saburo is injured. It must be from the gunfight. Saburo's secret is revealed, and Hokuto calls in the crew, and they have a big chase in the train yard until Saburo summons the Choju, Firemons. Hokuto gets stuck among flames and transforms into Ace, but Saburo gives Firemons a flaming sword, and Firemons stabs Ace with it. Ultra 7 has to appear to save Ace, and Hokuto awakens in a hospital with the crew, Dan and his sister, worrying over him. Hokuto tells Dan and his sister that their uncle is an alien, and they're not willing to believe it. Yamanaka takes a call from the captain about the Silver Shark, where it will be, and what TAC will be doing. The crew heads out, and Hokuto realizes that the necklace is a listening device. Saburo knows where the Silver Shark will be. Hokuto has to go, and Dan and his sister insist on coming. If their uncle really is an alien, they must see for themselves. Saburo summons Firemons. The crew fight back. Ace appears. Saburo knocks out Dan and his sister, summons the fire sword, gives it to Firemons, and the crew use the Silver Shark to destroy Firemons. TAC did it. They destroyed a Choju. The first time, maybe. I don't know. They
that
also
thing blows up too.
Yeah. They also rescue Dan and his sister from Saburo. Major W's going around in the crew this week. Saburo turns big, takes up the flaming sword, and fights Ace. Ace disarms Saburo and uses the flaming sword to win the fight. Ace then does a handstand for Dan to see. And later, Dan and his sister say they aren't alone after all, as they have Dan. Dan does his handstand. As they have Hokuto. Hokuto is his name. Dan and his sister say they aren't alone after all, as they have Hokuto. Dan does his handstand to win the bet, and his winnings are like 10 oranges. Everyone gets an orange at the end.
I have a very important question.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Is there anything in this episode that when Ultra 7 shows up that couldn't have been literally any of the other ones?
No. Could have been Zoffy.
This is my thing with every time they get another person to show up, is it's so, not only is them showing up just to do some
characters, right?
What was that?
It's like detached from the characters in the original shows.
Yes, exactly. It is. Not only is it just like, okay, whatever, they'll do some magical thing that like is completely unrelated from what they were doing in their original show, but also they're written so flatly as to just be like, this could have been anyone. Like this could have been original Ultraman. This could have been, it could have been Go. Like it is whatever. And that, I feel like that's kind of a lost opportunity. I think they could have done more with that as the show has progressed.
I think some of it also is like, for most of these, they've been getting the suit, but not the guy.
Like, right, they haven't had like Moroboshi Dan show up.
Yeah, and they only had like Venom Go show up. They didn't have like actual Go show up.
Yeah, and to be honest, that episode of Ace was pretty good. when Fake Go showed up.
Ironically, I feel like we got more characterization from original Ultraman as not Hayata when he just bright slaps Ace, but you know.
This is true. This is true. That is Ultraman through and through.
Yeah, like I appreciate that in this case it's like Seven coming and giving a pet talk rather than like waving a Deus Ex Machina power. But also, yeah, ER, it could have just been any of the other brothers. And
yeah,
I assume it's just like, oh yeah, people like Seven.
Yeah, if you're deploying Ultra 7, you should be considering what is the Moroboshi Dan-ness of this.
Yeah.
And I think there is enough to Moroboshi Dan to think about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes me curious, like, if they start bringing them back with like the actual actors, how that would affect those episodes. So we'll have to see maybe how that goes in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Now, how about that flaming sword, though?
That is pretty fucking cool. When it embeds in the ground,
like I will say, I like this episode, and it's entirely because of the fight for once, because everything they do with the flaming sword is just fucking sick. Ace gets stabbed.
Ace gets fucking stabbed. That kills Ace. It kills Ace, and Seven has to show up and save him. And then he does like the sword fight where Ace just picks up like a pylon. It's cool. Swords when they are pretty cool when they are on fire, especially.
Yeah.
Now, the actual, I think, the disappointing thing about this episode is that Saburo
there's no bird for a guy named Saburo.
There's well, yes, absolutely. You are correct. There's a guy named Saburo and there's no bird. The other problem with Saburo is he gets like 2 scenes, I think. And we're supposed to extract some human drama from his one encounter. Like, he is on screen with Dan and his sister like once, and then he's an alien. And
it's almost like they expect the scene where they save the child together to like endear you to him, so that when he turns out to be the alien, you're like, oh no. But it's like,
that's exactly how it's
so little. It's so little.
I feel like the Kushida romance alien episode was better about speedrunning this kind of endearing point.
Yeah, you can do this kind of thing economically pretty well, I think. Generally speaking, I am sort of fundamentally, I believe that 20 minutes is a long time. You can do quite a lot in 20 minutes. You would be surprised how much you can do in 20 minutes. It's just that it's different.
Look how long your summaries of Ultra 7 episodes are.
Yeah.
But the, it's like, God, yeah, Ultra 7 is like, Ultra 7's Ultra 7.
That shit's packed.
That's just fucking packed every week. Every
frame of Zoffy.
Every frame.
Fuck, why didn't we call the pocket? No, it's fine.
I don't know how they managed to waste so much time in this episode.
I think the answer is that a lot of it is spent on cool sword fighting, which is cool, but also
the cool sword fight is very cool. You've then got like Silver Shark. I don't think cut Silver Shark. Just cut that shit. Not relevant. Irrelevant.
The Silver Shark could have shown up, and they could have been like, "Oh, this is the Silver Shark, our new weapon," and it would have been completely the same. But they do waste a lot of time building it up, and it didn't necessarily need it.
And okay, we maybe don't need 2 flaming sword fights.
It is cool though.
It is cool. It is cool when he kills Ace.
I do think you need, like, if he gets killed by the sword with Ace, you do need the payoff of like Ace using it back, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I can see that they're kind of stuck here between 2 cool ideas.
They did the kind of thing where they have like two transformations, and both of them are pretty lengthy, so, you know, that cuts into, like, the human drama part of the episode by a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's just kind of unfortunate because, like, this is the kind of thing that you know, should work really well. This should pay off perfectly. Where it's like, oh, we've got Dan and his sister famously don't have any other relatives. This is very well established. We had the introduction of Dan was about this. So this sudden, like, uncle has come out of nowhere, and it's like, it sucks that he's not real. It sucks that it's not, there's no miracle uncle. But it doesn't really have any weight to it in the way that it should, which is a shame. Who made this episode?
Directed once again by Eizo Yamagiwa, and then written by Shigemitsu Taguchi.
Thank you. Mel.
Special effects director is Koichi Takano. Alien Fire was designed by Akiko Oguchi. Apparently the design originally had both hands as pincers, but this was changed so that one hand could hold the sword. Then Fire Mons was designed by Yoshio Suzuki. He describes that he was pressed for time when making it, and so he kind of just made a really slapdash design that didn't really have anything like unifying in it. So that's it kind of just looks like weird. But I don't dislike it.
Mm-hmm.
It is just kind of a weird thing that exists and not like a...
Yeah.
Like a I scribbled this on a notebook kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So, do we have anything more to say about this episode?
I thought this one was alright.
Yeah. It had fun set pieces, and that's like,
for this era of the show.
Yeah,
for this era of the show, this is alright.
We're like in the part of like when I re-listened to our older episodes of early Ultraman, and we're like, oh man, this is so good, and it's like there's nothing there, but we're trying to get what we can.
Yeah,
we're like in that era of Ace right now, where it's like, well, we get,
you know,
we get the things we like,
sword,
this stuff.
See, it's funny because I've also been thinking about that era of Ultraman a lot recently, and I feel like I'm more charitable to that era in part because, like, there's the endearing quality of, like, oh, they're figuring it out. And, like, while the base level of quality for these episodes is absolutely above, like, early Ultraman, but also, too, I've seen higher highs as well, and that I feel like also is making me harsher on these.
Yeah, there's definitely,
we expect more from Tsuburaya when they're flailing. Return of Ultraman had issues. It was still good.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is definitely like them spinning their wheels after like making a hard pivot from interesting show to more of the same.
I was gone for it, but last week when we were talking about, there was the guy who the producer was like, yeah, we need some new, like, we need a new set of eyes on this because we keep just doing the same old. I laughed my ass off when I read that.
We're trying to find the guy who's did this. What'd you think of this episode, anyway?
I genuinely think for a kid show to have, like, an episode, like, dealing with stuff like that, I'm like, this is pretty alright.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, whatever on the other two, but I was like, if you're going hard on, like, okay, we're making a show for, like, little kids, like, that's not, not the worst thing in the world. It is okay.
When Hokuto says that there's nothing wrong with you, for wetting the bed, that is the most heroic he has ever been.
Yeah, and then he kind of undermines that, but
he takes the badge away, and I'm like, thank you, Hokuto.
I think last episode would be funnier if Minami's only spoken order was like, haha, Hokuto, you wet the bed. Bye.
Yes.
It's really weird how they do that. There is like a weird arc that I'm sort of like, yeah, I wet the bed, and then I was I dreamed of being a biker.
Arc.
A biker bad boy.
Oh, yes, Hokuto's new established backstory is both he was like a youth, like, delinquent biker gang teenager, but also he wet the bed until he was 9.
No, don't forget, he was the youth delinquent who was friends with the person who got bullied in class.
Yeah, he was the only friend of the bullied poor orphan in class. Hokuto is everyone's OC. It's bad.
Oh yeah, also when that couple ended up together, I was like, fucking lady, move on. This guy sucks.
This guy fucking sucks. She's like... She's like, I know he sucks, but he looks lonely.
This is every r/relationships like top comment divorce him post ever rolled into one episode.
All right. Are we ready for weird guys and pandas?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Episode 40, Return the Panda, featuring space terrible being alien Steel.
Okay.
The alien is called Steel.
Yeah.
You know what's one? I am looking forward to Taro when we can get rid of the terrible monster label that doesn't apply to terrible monsters anymore.
Yeah. Which everything's terrible now.
Oh, actually, I did want to touch on this because you two did talk about how, like, the terrible monster thing. I have been operating under the assumption this entire time that when we had that scene where they're like, oh, but pieces of Yapul fell to Earth and, like, there's still terrible monsters around, that just is, like, every single monster that we've been dealing with so far
has been
like
a piece of the
a
Yapul.
weird remnant Yapul piece that they're still mopping up.
I
wish they'd
assume
mentioned
that's
that.
probably the lore intent, but also since it's never draw attention to any episode,
They never bring it up.
It just makes it feel like, well, yeah, they're just kaiju now.
Yeah,
They should bring attention to that. That was the one cool idea from killing Yapul.
Yeah. But no, the people writing this absolutely just are treating them like kaiju, and they're like, oh, well, this is the new term to use.
I say they're one cool idea from killing Yapul. I really liked the episode after they killed Yapul. I'm a shooter for that episode. Okay. Episode 40, Return the Panda. Dan visits Uncle Panda's shop. Who is Uncle Panda? He's a pharmacist who visited China and loves pandas and collects panda toys and even sells them on the side.
This guy feels about pandas how I feel about tapirs.
Yeah. Dan is visiting with a girl. The girl gets a panda toy named Ming Ming, and then, after the kids have left, a proper fucking weirdo in a hat and cloak comes in, makes some funny noises like, and then steals all the pandas with like magic and runs off. Hokuto offers Dan and the girl a lift home, but the panda thief runs past at 60 kilometers per hour, and Hokuto gives chase with Ming Ming in the back of the car. Dan assures the girl that Hokuto will return Ming Ming later. Hokuto chases the thief to a warehouse and asks an old man if he's seen anyone suspicious. The old man seems to be uncommunicative, and Hokuto assumes, oh, he can't even hear me. Hokuto returns to base and fails to convince anyone that the panda thief might be an alien, despite more reports of panda toys going missing all over Tokyo. That night, Dan witnesses a real panda that is a man in a suit outside his window eating apples. No one believes him, but he takes the apple to Uncle Panda, who is drunk, and Uncle Panda agrees, this apple was bitten by a panda. At some point off-screen, it becomes clear that Ming Ming went missing from Hokuto's car. Hokuto pursues the thief again to the warehouse, and this time, he grows suspicious of the old man. He fires his gun, and the old man turns to see where the sound came from. He's the thief! Dan and the girl find the collection of stolen panda toys, as well as the real actual panda that is a man in a suit and not a panda. And Hokuto confronts the alien Steel. Why did you steal the pandas? Well, humans love pandas, so I thought maybe I'd take some panda stuff home to our star so we can appreciate how great pandas are too. And Hokuto says, well, in that case, we can come to some sort of agreement, but you'll have to return the store. I'm just kidding. Fight to the death. Justice must be served. Hokuto turns into Ace and fights the giant alien Steel. Uncle Panda uses an apple to try to bring the real actual panda that is a man in a suit and not a real panda to safety, and Ace defeats Steel. The day is saved. Uncle Panda gets his pandas back, the girl gets Ming Ming back, and the real actual panda that is a man in a suit and not a real panda is returned home to China where the alien stole it from. The end.
Now, I do want to say, I do think the Chinese government would take issue with aliens just taking pandas.
I do think they would have an issue with taking pandas, but I think Hokuto could work something out with this alien where you can buy toys. You can do that. If you give us something in return, you can take panda toys back home with you. That's allowed.
Yeah, you gotta give us a weird freak
to die.
Like, you gotta give us weird freak alien toys then, like, too. You know?
Yeah,
like,
give us Yeah, give us something.
Like, give me like a Sublorbo like figure or something.
Hell yeah!
Still waiting for Sublorbo.
I can't wait. I can't wait to pull the cord on my Sublorbo figure, and it goes. They hire a guy to make weird noises directly into camera. It's really funny. I quite like this episode. It's very stupid.
It's a fun time.
I watched this episode after midnight yesterday, so it's kind of a fever dream for me, but also kind of is a fever dream in general. I couldn't tell you what happened with it, but you know, I think the panda suit is really funny.
I find it very endearing that for you watching these after midnight is like the exception and not the norm. Let me tell you, I'm watching all these fucking things at like 1 a.m.
I know.
She knows the judgment. The panda suit is really funny because it's like the episode is so ridiculous that when I see the person in a panda suit and I sit there and before Dan can say anything, I manage to go like in my brain, just lightning quick, just like full thought process, like, is this within the episode a person in a panda suit? It could be, given the tone. This might not be a panda. I was like, the possibilities are endless here. This could be intended to be a panda, or it might not be. I don't know.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yes, I was a very big fan of the fake panda. Because like the rest of the episode is like fake pandas, and so when it's like panda suit appears, is like, is the alien hanging out in a panda suit? What's going on? Is that Uncle Panda in there? Is that what he does on weekends? I don't know. I don't ask questions about Uncle Panda. He seems strange.
I do like that for all the reasons you'd expect. They can't get an actual panda for this, like they could get an actual tapir.
No, they could not get an actual panda. I imagine getting an actual panda is way more expensive than getting an actual tapir. Tapirs are small-ish.
And I think not horribly endangered.
Not if
not horribly endangered.
Not as horribly as pandas.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how this alien is also kind of like a robot in like the King Joe variety, but like doesn't look as cool?
Okay, let me pull up Ultraman Ace.
It looks like a guy with like a warship.
It was
on his
reminding me
face.
a lot of King Joe, and what's the one with like the claw arm that was like eating cars? Which one was that again?
You mean
Crazy Gun.
One of my favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, was that Crazy Gun? Yes.
Like I kept thinking like, oh, this design's kind of going for something more robot-y like that, I feel, and it's not hitting the same way.
However, counter argument. Look at this absolute dude.
Yes.
I'm not feeling it.
You're not feeling it?
I love it, actually.
The giant finger is so ridiculous to me. I'm not sure how I feel about the buzzsaws on the head.
I think the buzzsaws are the big
I think
point.
they're cheap. I think they're too cheap. I think you got to cut them. I don't think they look good. But I'm okay with it. Obviously does not rank next to King Joe and Crazy Gun. But that's almost mean. Because
now
King
I
Joe,
do appreciate
King Joe
how
and
it's
Crazy Gun are classics.
on closer look. I do appreciate how its face looks like one of those like door like communicator things that you get at like, you know, big important buildings where you have to push the button to like talk to someone so they open the door. But
intercom.
Intercom,
right.
yes, that's what I'm looking for.
I love this guy's motivation. I love
It's pretty good.
He's got no nefarious secret I'm trying to oppress. That he's like, Pandas are so cool, dude.
Yeah.
I love pandas. I want to take some home to my boys.
However, he does have to be killed by Ace.
He does have to be killed by Ace for the crime of stealing a panda from China. Couldn't just like return it and then, you know,
apologize.
Take some photos.
Yeah.
You know?
Fuck him.
Fuck him. Fuck this guy. Kill. Murder.
Steve Harvey voice. Kill.
Yes. Yes. Kill. Yeah. There's not much to say about this episode other than it's really funny. It's just kind of goofy at all times. They introduce like a weird guy who runs a shop and he's kind of silly and strange, and then they introduce a weirder guy to freak that first guy out. And then he's like running around at 60 kilometers per hour, and Hokuto's like, "Oh, this must be an alien, a serious threat." And they cut to the outside, and it's just like sped up footage of this guy running. It's so stupid.
Yeah, like, the thing, I feel like all three of these episodes are honestly all pretty alright. I do, like, I can't shake the feeling, and obviously, like, I mean, we've talked to death at this point about the massive tidal shift this show went through, but, like, I can never shake the feeling in this second half of the show era that even when, like, I'm getting to the stuff that I'm like, oh, okay, this one was, like, alright or whatever, like, I don't think this is anything that's gonna, like, stick with me. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, there's that panda episode, and like, that's gonna be it. And you know, maybe that's fine. You know, sometimes week-to-week television, that's all you want, is to just like, sit down for 20 minutes, have a good time. Not everything can be life-changing or should be life-changing.
Not like 150 episodes of Lupin the Third, Part 2.
The panda is not quite gonna stick like the dinosaur tank.
Yeah.
Or Soga shooting someone with the mandolin, or Amagi's irrational fear of dying in an explosion. That episode is simply a banger.
Packed.
Yeah.
We're gonna cure Amagi's fear of exploding.
But I do just kind of feel that as a whole with Ace, like even in the middle of watching it here, if I had to be like, oh, what are gonna be the big tentpole parts of Ace that I'm like, fuck yeah, Ultraman Ace, I think so far for me it's only the incel episode and the I talked to my dad through seashells crab episode.
If I look, because you know, obviously I personally disavow the Ultra Q Ultraman skip list. But
I avow it so hard.
My personal list of like what are the good episodes of Ultraman, and it's like nine, I think. And I'm like, you know, when I look at that list of 9 episodes, I'm like, those are fantastic. Those are incredible. To a degree that like the good episodes of Ultraman Ace don't quite stack up to that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think
my
there's
same
like
feelings.
the episodes where I'm like, yeah, these are the must watch are probably less than one hand so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I said this earlier, but like I feel like ever since, especially Return of Ultraman, maybe even Ultra 7, but I mean that show was going for something very different in how it felt and what it focused on. But like ever since Return of Ultraman, especially, like the base level of quality has been pretty good, I would say, compared to how we started. But just like, I mean, especially as it goes on, also too, you run into the issue of just like sometimes you get diminishing returns on some of these more episodic stories that run up against stuff we've seen before already too, right? Probably not helped by the fact that we're doing this the way we're doing this, where instead of having like big years-long gaps between them, we're doing 3 a week every week. So they stick in the brain a little bit better than they would have otherwise. But yeah, it's a weird feeling this show sometimes, where it's just like, yeah, this week's all right, but I'm like, I'll probably forget about it in like 2 months, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Odd feeling.
Who made it? Oh, go ahead.
I guess, yeah, Ace. I guess even when I was enjoying Ace more, it did feel like, you know, like not quite to the level of like Return. Even it does feel like it does just feel like another one of these in a way, especially now. But like
I really cursed our podcast by making that statement.
Yeah. Hoping Taro is fun. That's the most I can ask for at this point.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to expect. Mostly, like I have some ideas. I won't say, but I'm curious how we'll enjoy it. Same.
I also do. I guess I'll just throw this out there because it came to my mind too. Like, I wonder how much of that too is like a lot of the standout episodes of the previous shows that we've watched, I think really leaned in hard on, oh, this is like a really good horror episode. This is a really good mystery episode. This is a really good like sci-fi story that could have been like out of like a short story collection back in the day.
Winter Soldier is a 70s spy movie.
Yeah. So true. Or, I mean, even just like, Return of Ultraman had like a lot of good, like, oh, this is just like a good, proper human drama focused, like, story that happens to have a giant monster in it. I feel like a lot of that kind of went away with this season, instead focusing more on, like, oh, yeah, we're doing more crossover stuff and, like, leaning in on, like, we got the other guys here. Lore? Yeah.
Like, yeah, so I'm curious. I guess it's like, we need, like, a more... What does a good super episode look like, I guess?
Yeah. And, like, we've had them. I just, I feel like the way that this show in particular communicates that a lot of the time isn't quite hitting the way I'd want it to. But, who made this episode? Director was Toshitsugu Suzuki, and then written by Shigemitsu Taguchi.
All right. Mel.
I got special X director as Koichi Kawakita, Alien Steel by Yoshio Suzuki, with the suit being repurposed from the original two-piece suit from Ace in the first episode.
Okay. Well, unless we have anything more specifically to say about this episode, we might call it there and move on to our other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got some stuff.
All right, go for it.
For the Color Timers, episode 38, 7 minutes and 26 seconds. Father Ultra has 2 minutes 43 seconds. Episode 39, 3 minutes and 50 seconds. And then again, 4 minutes and 14 seconds. So, that's why that episode is mostly fight.
Yes.
Episode 40, 2 minutes 59 seconds. Right on the dot.
Yeah.
Nice.
And just, the medical miracle counter is now at 12.
Nice. Thank you. Did we have any runback stuff?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Koichi Takano, a special arts director for Ultraman episode 25 to 29. Geass, the suit actor, is Akira Minami. The lower body suit was apparently repurposed from Hydra. Somehow they turned that bird into an ape. Good job. Durako, suit actor, is Fumio Okada. And then in episode 37, it's Eiichi Matsushima. It was the only episode for the Sweep 1 episode that made from scratch. Based on Dragonfly, but a grasshopper was originally planned, which I'll put in the chat. As well as in the original design for Durako, one of its hands had more of like a whip appendage. And they even had that design sent out for merch. But in the last minute, they replaced the whip with another claw.
I see.
And then the revived Durako in episode 37 was modified. Instead of claws, it had proper hands for some reason, and they added horns onto it. And it still had the wings ripped off from when, I guess Red King did that. I think in the episode, whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you recall from Red King trivia. Red King was supposed to be in the script instead, but for reasons they put in Durako. Reasons being suit deterioration, basically.
Okay.
Then we have Gamora, famous guy. Suit actor Kunio Suzuki. The mouth movements on Gamora were electronic, and was using radio control with a receiver in the tail, so that's pretty cool. The suit body was later converted into Zaragas. Because of this conversion, the original plan to put Gamora in the Geramon episode didn't go through, so they instead used Talosdon for the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the episode features them looking at a picture of Gamora in like a book, a picture, and that was the design. That was basically the concept art design image. They just repurposed it and put in the book for the episode. So that's cool. Apparently, the original head was found in 2013, and it was on display in exhibits. The big side horns had to be glued back on, but the nose horn got lost somewhere, and they just never found it. So, Ben Faria also claims that the Gamora suit claws were pretty sharp, and it was actually pretty painful being grabbed by them in the episode near the fight scene. Then we have Dada, suit actor Kunio Suzuki. Shocker from the name, comes from Dadaism.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why you have the geometric patterns all over the body.
Mm-hmm.
The original intention and desire was that they wanted to create a face that had kind of like an optical illusion. If you look at it from different angles, it looked like a different face. Turns out that's really hard to do, if you can believe it. So they had some ideas like, well, what if we put like 3 pieces on one head? You can have like maybe the head can spin, or maybe the head doors in the head that open up. That also really hard. So they just kind of settled on, we have 3 heads, and then data that fades in and out, and with different heads sometimes. Yeah. Bit ambitious, so it didn't pan out, but the ideas sound cool on paper.
Mm-hmm.
The inspiration for the mask was apparently there was an unnamed woman, at least on the wiki, who was Ben Faria's assistant, and she was also involved with like sculpting like mountains and rivers and stuff for like the sets and stuff. Apparently Data was going to be one of the aliens that showed up as one of Mephiles' goons in that episode, but they replaced it with Kemmer instead. No reason given, they just did.
Yeah, just for the fun of it.
And this one's a doozy. Goldon, suit actor Koji Ogi, sculpted by Studio X Pro. That's all I got.
Good.
famous kaiju Goldon.
Fuck Goldon. All my homies hate Goldon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do we have emails? I think you said we had some emails by Ace.
Yeah. Let me just open up the emails again. First up, we got. I'll just finish Cross Data's email from earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. That sure was the return of the father of Ultra. Mini-Me is also here. I think the practical effects of Fire Mons and a sword is probably the highlight of this batch.
Absolutely.
For episode 38, I rolled my eyes at Mini-Me just being there and waving without any lines. I do find it funny that both Return and Ace had an Ultra just shoot a person in the Wind River episode. Upon this rewatch, I truly did purge episode 40 from my mind. Jeez. I guess it is kind of forgettable.
Nah, I'm team Panda episode.
Two years from now, will you remember this panda?
Will I remember this panda? I don't know, but if I do, I will remember it fondly. Good panda.
There's a lot of just good shots of that suit shot from far away, like crawling behind a building corner. Like,
yeah, the panda just
fun.
like chilling with the family.
Yeah. What's in the cage at the end, just kind of moping about.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we got an email from Jessica.
Okay.
Welcome back. Hey, I fell behind for a while, but I had some ideas I wanted to email you. First one is rather self-indulgent, but I thought episode 10 should have had a fight between Ace and Ultraman 2. So I fancied up a version of the story that I had. Okay. Initially, the story would proceed like normal, except instead of being an imposter, Go had been captured and brainwashed by Yapul. Then when they confront him, he's able to transform, and unlike previous attempts, because Ultraman and Go are the same, he's still under control, so Ace has to fight Ultraman to try and save him, and Jiro has to watch. And he's like, oh no, this sucks. Ultraman may kill Ace, and then Yapul will run rampant. Ultraman Ace wear each other down until the color hammers go off, but then Ace spots Elliot and Tira as like the hijacker, and destroys them, and then they're freed. And then suddenly Zygon shows up, and the brothers fight it together as a tag team. And then when the battle's over, you have like Ultraman Ace talk to each other through their hosts, mentor stuff. Touch. Can you tell I'm reading this for the first time?
Yes, I can.
It's a very large paragraph. So saying the father was proud of the work Ace has done on Earth, and the Ultra Brothers are fighting the Apollo across the rest of the galaxy. They won't hesitate to come to Earth's side should they need it. With decades of hindsight, I think they should have foreshadowed Father Ultra sooner, is what she says. Presumably, they should have a scene of Jiro reciting the oaths to Ultraman/Go, but she doesn't care about Jiro, so unfortunate.
We care about our misogynist king.
He invented a new way to eat ice cream.
Then she says, next thing. Second thing is a question. If you were Land of Light HR and you had to fire Hokuto as Ultraman Ace, who would you assign to be Ace's new host?
Ooh, Captain Ryu.
Minami.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously, man. No, Minami's been retconned out of the show. Women don't exist. Yeah, probably Minami.
Okay, this is gonna be far-fetched, but Kishida walks into frame.
Hell yeah.
He would be so pissed about it the whole time.
Oh, finally we have hater Ultraman.
I mentioned it in the chat, but I was watching another 80s Toku show, and then Kishida just shows up. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
When I get my water bottle out of the fridge, Kishida's voice ringing in my ear from on high. Drink your damn water.
We are not trying to defeat thirst. I am. Yeah, that's basically all Jessica has. So thank you for your email.
Thank you for your email. Father of Ultra is he comes out of left. It's fine. He's just kind of. It's just kind of funny how hard they instantly lean into all these Ultra things being connected the moment Ultraman Ace happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think it would have been cool if that episode did have actual Go. An Ultra versus Ultra fight would be cool. So,
I'm sure we have to get one of those. Well, I mean, we kind of already got one in the Zareb episode, kind of, sort of, but an actual Ultraman versus Ultraman fight has to happen at some point, right?
Yeah,
but they'll both have to be right.
Yes,
and heroes. It will be Gundam Seed,
and then the Pokemon the sad song plays.
I see.
Brother,
I see.
My brother, tell me, what are you fighting for? I don't remember the rest of that.
I don't remember.
You at least know the gif with the sad Pikachu, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
I forgot what that song.
All right, let me. From the laugh, I can tell the Pikachu slapping each other.
Pikachu's crying and slapping the shit out of each other.
It's just like Ideon.
Basically. Yes. I saw that movie in theaters.
You saw Ideo be invoked in theater? No.
Yep, that's why my name is... That's why my name is what it is.
Oh, they should stop putting Shah's Counterattack in theaters. Put Ideo be invoked in theaters immediately.
I really, really hope at some point in my life I get to see that in a movie theater. I would die.
Right, here's the problem. To actually be true to the spirit of it, you would have to do the full double bill.
Oh, I would do it.
Yeah, I would happily do it, but I know people who I know people would be annoyed at having to sit through that first movie.
Yeah.
Which movie?
Because if you put it be invoked in cinemas, you'd have to put a contact in with it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, Be Invoked doesn't have any fucking credits.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And if you did it, you would have to stick to the fact that Be Invoked doesn't have... You couldn't add credits at the end. You have to do the thing where the movie ends and then all the lights come on. Just like that. Immediately.
I'm having a very funny realization.
Yeah.
I think that Pokemon movie was this. So I've talked before. I know for a fact The Phantom Menace is the first movie I saw in a theater as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think was probably later than most kids, but like in terms of like my age. I think the second might have been Pokemon. I'm looking at the dates. I don't know what I would have seen between those two. Oh, that's funny.
Somehow I didn't watch these movies in theaters.
Do we have any more emails about
One
Ultraman
more
Ace?
email.
Let me very quickly grab my Dairy Queen order that is at my door and melting in the sun. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it. What is the time? It is nearly 8 p.m. Oh, the Euros final. England v Spain for the finals of the footy.
Ah, just like the book I read.
Oh, now this has to stay in.
I'm back. It did not melt.
Nice.
Well done. One more Ace email.
Yeah. This one's by Connor. Hey gang, looking forward to the new episode. I feel with some of the sentiments about the change in Ace, there's a bunch of Kid Focus episodes in a row, and it felt better if it was like that from the start. Maybe Tara will be good.
Maybe Tara will be good.
Yeah.
People like that one.
I like shows. I'm known children's television liker. I like shows for tiny children. Often. Not all of them, but often. Maybe, and we have just assumed that Tara will be like that.
Yeah, I still think that we're gonna get some Ultra Boo Boo keys.
Yeah. They're gonna jingle the keys to transform.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's shocking me nuts how Minami still mentioned the theme song and the TAC theme, but she's not there anymore.
Yep.
They have yet to rewrite that fucking song.
I don't think they're going to.
I don't think
They made Orphan sing it.
We got 12 episodes left. They ain't changing that shit.
As it stands now, what do you ask for from a kid-focused character?
Oh, what do I ask for from a kid-focused
Yeah, actually,
character?
do you want me to finish this paragraph first? And then...
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Connor's always been most fond of Hoshino from the original series. He made the adults more fun, and eventually became official until the poor kid's actor went skiing, and missed the Mephiles episode, which is like made for the character. I think he made a great example of a kid character, and he was involved with the adults in the plot, and that's what I think most kids really want from these shows, as opposed to having their laundry out for piss fortune telling.
Yeah.
So my obviously the one that I like is Jiro. I like Jiro. I think Jiro's good.
Yeah.
Same.
They do a lot with
Jiro's got pathos. He is like a character. As opposed to just, like, it is easy to say, oh, a kid character, and you're kind of just referring to like a stock character. Jiro is a character. He has a character.
He has personality.
He has personality. He is unique. If Jiro showed up in these episodes, he would have a distinct role from Dan if the writers knew what they were doing. Which, I'm not necessarily confident in, but Jiro Jiro is Jiro. He's not, like, you couldn't swap him out for another child. And I think that, for me, is kind of the ideal. And I don't think a lot of people are good at that. I think that's difficult.
I think for a lot of... I said this when Dan first showed up and how it feels like he's used, but I think for a lot of the people writing these shows, the existence of that kid is to be the surrogate for the little child watching who wants to be on the adventure with the characters. And now I have weird feelings about this because I also feel like I'm not the most indicative example, but all throughout my life this has been true. But, like, I don't... Oh, this is gonna sound dumb, but, like, I, historically speaking, and this is still true of me now, I feel like it was even true of me when I was a child, I actually don't feel like, in a lot of ways, I go to media for the escapist fantasy of it. Which I do actually just genuinely think has been a problem for me thinking about things critically through the years, because, like, I need to accept that a lot of people are there for that, and especially in kids media, like, it's important for kids to want to, like, you know, be able to play pretend and imagine and engage with this stuff that way. But, like, especially for me, for kids media, and when I think about stuff growing up, I've always felt the most attached to media, or like it's resonating with me the most, when it's depicting problems or things in my life that maybe aren't necessarily things I want to go through, but is almost like a comforting blanket, or at least an acknowledgement, like, hey, other people are going through this too. And gives you maybe a sort of, like, new perspective on, like, well, here's what these people did in that situation, or, like, you know, this is a normal hardship that other people have gone through too, and you're not alone in this sort of thing. But then also too, like we've talked about, I do appreciate it too when they are not just the tag-along that has the happy-go-lucky personality, and then sometimes gets in over their head, or, you know, has... Because I feel like there's two modes with these characters a lot of the times, too, where it's like, oh, they're the happy-go-lucky kid, or, oh, they are being immature and need to be taught the lesson. And I think you get something more interesting when you create a more well-rounded character that not, you know, has flaws beyond, oh, they're just young and a kid and they're being a brat right now. Like, Jiro misses his brother. That's, like, a character flaw that you can do things with and wwrite a story around.
Known character flaw, mourning his dead brother.
Yes. Flaw is probably a hard word there to use.
He has his trials and tribulations.
Yes, he has a hardship. He has a difficulty that he needs to overcome. But yeah, that's where I am with that.
Yeah, I think I'm generally much more pro write a character. I am like this about, I think, everything. I like even like beyond children in things. I am like this about, like, the plague of hair in front of eyes hentai protagonist is in every form of media. I'm sorry for inflicting the word hentai into this conversation. I'm sorry for doing that.
69, nice.
It was relevant. 69, nice.
Whenever you have an archetype, just make sure you're doing something beyond the stock, is I think what we're really asking for here.
Yeah, that's probably like our problem with, like, I guess that's probably our problem with, like, original Ultraman, where they felt like outside of Ide, most of the archetypes, including Hoshino.
Yes.
Who also seemed to just overshadow the singular woman in the cast.
Lol.
So,
people, I would say, I just, you know, I think there's just first of all, it gives you more room to work with, because now you can have more than one child in the show, right? That you can introduce a new child and have them have, like, more. Like Dan, I think Dan's doing okay. I think we're doing okay with Dan. He's not, like, great. I'm not a big fan of this Sixth Ultra Brother thing. I think
at least they don't see the Star of Ultra anymore and not aim for the bushes. So, but
yes,
I'm just remembering when I thought Dan was a one-off episode character, and then I started the next episode. Again. I went, oh
no. But yeah, you know, we like characters.
Hot takes.
Yeah, I don't really any more about that other than just, you know, yeah, you covered it pretty well, I think.
And I would even go as far as to say, I feel like because a lot of the times when characters show up, like child characters show up in anything, whether live action, animated, whatever, the one thing you always hear people go is, oh, they're so annoying. And I feel like I actually don't feel like I have that response a lot. It's just more often like, oh, like, this kid feels like he's drawing screen time away for, like, you know, like, kind of like a lot of the times these characters get forced onto plots to, like, be the eyes-in character when stories, a lot of the times, don't actually need that, because especially, like, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't want to be the kid going on the adventures with Ultraman. I probably would have wanted to be Ultraman.
Here's the thing. Yeah, you're right. Hating the child is new territory for me. I don't do that. I don't. That's not me. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I'm quest defender. I'm
Phantom Menace lover.
Phantom Menace lover. That's a better movie than I'm not gonna get it. I'm gonna get roasted online.
underscore Phantom Menace lover 782.
That's me. I like the Phantom Menace. And yeah, little Anakin, when he says goodbye to his mom, that's the real shit. Anyway,
just like Gento's five actor.
Maybe if they stopped switching Gento's kid's actor, and like his son, we would have time for him to develop a character.
Listen,
but they keep every episode.
If Dan tried spinning,
that would be a good
game
trick.
changer. That would be a good trick. It's working. It's working.
Was there any more to that email?
No, they said, you know, Merry Christmas.
Thank you for your email. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Thank you for your email. Is that all our emails this week?
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for emailing. I actually genuinely do. I feel like sometimes I forget to say thank you at the end of an email. I feel like an asshole. Thanks everyone for emailing. I appreciate that people take the time out to like actually engage with us with this stuff. It means a lot.
Yeah, it's been nice to get more emails from more people.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And if you're listening and you're like, oh, I don't have anything to write in about, find something.
Yeah,
we want to hear from you.
Yeah, you stupid bitch.
Yeah. Jessica wrote a fan fiction. What's your excuse? Putting in the work.
All right, that is an episode. We will see you next week for 3 more episodes of Ultraman Ace.
Yeah.
It is also possible that there has already been an episode of Skipping the Queue uploaded for the first 2 episodes of Ultraman Arc. If not, it will be coming soon. I do not know what the schedule is going to be for Arc this time. I am in the middle of, like, I took holiday on Thursday, Friday, and on Monday and Tuesday, so I don't know that I want to be editing the podcast in time for it to go up on Monday. I'm chilling. So we will see when it goes up. Probably Wednesday. I don't know. But hopefully I will settle into something. But it's not going to be regular weekly stuff. So
yeah.
To be honest, I don't have to set myself any rules. You'll simply have to abide by my whims. Good luck.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
And see you next week. Bye-bye.
Did we do plugs?
No, we didn't.
No,
if you want to follow the show, you can do so at Ultra_Q on Twitter. That is at Ultra_QUEUE. Mel, your plugs.
Hi, you can follow me at Your Crowns on Twitter /Blue Sky. You can send an email like the fine folks did previously at ultraqpod@gmail.com. And we also have a coffee.
Our only worthwhile listeners.
Yeah. I have like 100-star review.
Brad.
Yeah, you can find me at Be Invoked. That's BE_invoked. Not in movie theaters, tragically, but maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
All right.
Maybe someday.
Fucking better. I want to...
I watched the SpongeBob Conch episode in a movie theater, let me tell you.
Why?
Was that as good as Be Invoked?
Yup. You heard it here first.
You know, it's a pretty good episode of SpongeBob, to be honest.
Nice. Okay. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Later.
Wow.